This course is called Managing Credit, but the main thing that I want to try to get across by the end of the course is to explain that there is a fundamental difference between being debt-free and having a good credit score. So if your goal is to be debt-free or to have a good credit score, they're not one and the same. So what I'm going to try to do is separate those two ideologies so that they're not being confused with one another. Debtless community in and of itself is going to go to an extensive detail on managing credit, as well as managing your cash inflows, your cash outflows, and managing your liquidity in general. Again, this is just an introductory course. All of these things are just giving you fundamentals of what you're going to learn in a lot more detail as you go on in Debtless. With that being said, like I said, in this particular video, I want to explain the difference between good credit score and being debt-free. And by the way, I apologize ahead of time. I'm starting to notice that there's some static in the back of a couple of these videos. So just turn it down a bit if you can, and I'm going to try to work out the kinks of the audio very soon. Thank you. What is credit? Credit is simply borrowed money from a lender. When you pay a lender from borrowing money, more likely than not, it must be repaid with interest. That's pretty much what using credit is. The advantages of using credit is it allows you to cover expenses that you cannot normally cover with cash. If you have a cash shortage, credit can do the job for you. Or if you have a larger purchase like a refrigerator, a TV, television, big television, you can usually put that on a credit card, or take out a personal loan for something like that, or a store card. So that's the advantages of it. It can cover where your cash cannot. The disadvantages is there's interest owed on credit, and interest can be very high. Even if you look at the example of a house with a mortgage with 5% interest over 30 years, it's a $200,000 house. Essentially, you're paying twice the amount that you have to for the house because interest is being tacked on there, and it's compounded interest on a mortgage. Here's a graph showing the difference between using credit and not using credit, where your money allocation goes. Of course, this is just an example, and everybody's situation is different, but in category 1, this is someone that's using credit, saving, and spending. When you're using credit, the payments that have to go back to credit is being taken away from your ability to either purchase more or to save. And in category 2, we're showing somebody that's just spending their money and saving their money, as opposed to using credit as well. And you can see that savings can be increased as well as spending. And again, all of these numbers are tailored specifically to a person. This is just an example. This is the FICO Score. This is what's used to establish credit. If you look here, payment history is the largest part of this chart with 35%, meaning your payment history accounts for 35% of your credit score. So keeping a good credit payment history is going to go a long way in making sure that your credit score is very high. The second largest part of the chart is the amount owed, or your debt ratio to your credit limit. Say, for instance, you have a $100,000 credit limit. The lower the amount that you owe is, the better it looks on your credit report and your credit score. You also have the length of credit history, meaning how long have you had credit? Since you were 18 and you're now 35, or since you were 28 and now you're 35. That's the length of your credit history. 10% is allocated towards the type of credit used: student loans, car loans, house loans, credit cards, you name it. And another 10% is allocated to new credit, meaning how often are you getting new credit, when are you getting new credit, so on and so forth. Understanding the difference between being debt-free and having good credit. You cannot be debt-free and have a perfect credit score, because in order to have a good credit score, that means you have to be utilizing credit. A perfect credit score requires a long credit history, a perfect payment history, low credit limit to usage ratio, but you're still using credit. Your debt to limit usage. If you can keep your debt usage at around 35% and under, say, 20% of your limit, you're in good shape. If a third of your income or less is being dedicated towards debts, or a third of your credit limit or less is being dedicated towards debts, you're in really good financial shape if you're using credit. The best way to keep a good credit score: have a consistent positive payment history, maintain a low balance, increase the length of your credit history, meaning when you're done paying off a card, don't get rid of the card, because the longer you have that card, even if you're keeping a really low balance or just paying it off every month so you're not getting hit with interest rates, it's going to look better. There is no magic formula. The only way to keep a good credit score is to stay consistent. Staying consistent with your payment history, maintaining that low balance, and increasing the length of your history. Having a debt-free life, which again is different than having a good credit score. Over the course of searching for that perfect credit score, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest rates that could be allocated towards investing in any number of vehicles: stock markets, real estate, mutual funds, you name it. When you're using credit, you're offsetting your ability to invest. So the biggest difference, again, between having a debt-free life and having a good credit score, it's a matter of choice, of what you're looking for. Some people want a debt-free life for the purpose of them not feeling like they're in financial bondage to anyone else. People who want a good credit score still want the luxury of being able to get that home with less than average interest rates owed on that home, or being approved for any number of credit lines that they need to fund their lifestyle. Again, ultimately, it's up to you. This is the end of the course on credit management. Just a few simple concepts. The biggest thing I wanted to get across here was not so much explaining the credit score, because there's plenty of courses that we're going to have on that in the future, as much as I wanted to explain the fundamental difference between having a good credit score and having a debt-free life. Thank you for listening in. Look forward to seeing you guys in some other courses. Take care.